The Simpsons has been on the air for over 35 years, and in that time there have been tons of Treehouse of Horror episodes that parodied some of the biggest movies and TV shows out there. So in this video, we're going through every single one. If you haven't seen it, go check out part 1, but for now let's get into part 2. We're starting with Treehouse of Horror VI, and the first segment is called Attack of the 50-Foot Eyesores. It's a parody of the 1958 film Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. An ionic storm hits Springfield and brings every giant advertising mascot in town to life. Lard Lad, Springfield's version of Big Boy, starts stomping through the streets, absolutely furious because Homer stole his giant donut. These massive mascots are flattening buildings, tearing the whole town apart, and nobody can stop them. Until Paul Anka shows up, the actual Paul Anka. He writes a jingle called Just Don't Look, convinces the entire town to simply ignore the monsters, and one by one they lose their power and collapse. Springfield defeated giant rampaging mascots by pretending they weren't there, which is a very Simpsons solution. But if that segment was ridiculous, the next one was genuinely scary. Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace is a full parody of A Nightmare on Elm Street, with groundskeeper Willie playing Freddy Krueger. Bart has a nightmare where Willie comes after him with a rake. He wakes up. The scratches are still on his body. Other kids at school are having the same nightmares. Martin falls asleep during a test and dies right there in the classroom. Marge explains what happened. Homer turned up the thermostat at the school during a PTA meeting, misreading Willie's warning note, and the heater exploded. Willie caught fire. The parents just stood there and watched him burn. Nobody helped, and now he's coming for their kids, in their dreams, where nobody can protect them. Bart decides the only way to end it is to go to sleep and fight him. Willie turns into a lawnmower. Bart tricks him into quicksand, and for a second, it looks like it's over. Then Willie comes back as a giant spider bagpipe hybrid. Just when Bart and Lisa are about to be done for, Maggie shows up, plugs the vent on Willie's spider body with her pacifier, and he explodes. Now, the last segment of this episode is where things get really wild. Homer Cubed is a parody of The Twilight Zone, specifically an episode called Little Girl Lost. Patty and Selma are coming over, so Homer hides behind the bookcase. He finds a gap in the wall, steps through, and suddenly everything changes. He's in a completely three-dimensional world. Wireframe grids stretching in every direction, floating geometric shapes drifting past him, physics that make zero sense. Homer wanders around, gets stabbed in the rear by a bouncing cone, and when he throws it at the ground, it rips open a black hole. The entire dimension starts collapsing. Bart ties a rope around his waist and goes in to save Homer, but the black hole is pulling everything in too fast. Homer gets swallowed by the collapse and launched completely out of the animated world into live action, actual streets, actual buildings, real human beings walking past a computer-generated Homer Simpson standing on the sidewalk. He somehow ended up in actual live action reality, and he's totally fine with it. Completely insane segment. Treehouse of Horror 7 has 3 segments, and the last one is still one of the most quoted in the entire series. First up is The Thing and I, a play on The King and I, and it's a classic evil twin setup. Bart and Lisa hear strange noises from the attic. Turns out Bart has a conjoined twin named Hugo, who was separated at birth and has been living up there ever since, chained up and fed nothing but fish heads. Hugo escapes, captures Bart, and tries to sew them back together. Dr. Hibbert shows up and reveals the truth. One twin was evil, one was good, and the evil one got locked in the attic. But then he checks the scar. Bart was the evil twin all along. Hugo was the good one the whole time. They swap them. Hugo comes downstairs, Bart goes to the attic, and the family just carries on with their night. Rough deal for Bart, but honestly, that tracks. The second segment is The Genesis Tub, a parody of a Twilight Zone episode called The Little People. Lisa's science project, a tooth in a petri dish, gets hit by static electricity and accidentally creates an entire miniature civilization. Tiny people evolve, build cities, develop technology, worship Lisa as a god, and treat Bart as the devil. Lisa gets shrunk down and teleported into the tub, discovers this whole functioning world, and immediately wants out. But the tiny people haven't figured out how to make things bigger, only smaller. Meanwhile, Bart takes the petri dish to the science fair and wins first place. Lisa is trapped in there forever, her first order as permanent ruler. Bring her some nice shoes. One of the tiny people whispers she'll want socks too. And then there's Citizen Kang. The title is a play on Citizen Kane, but the segment is straight up political satire, and it might be the most iconic Treehouse of Horror segment ever. Homer gets abducted by Kang and Kodos while fishing. They want to know who Earth's leader is. Homer tells them about the presidential election. Bill Clinton versus Bob Dole. The aliens kidnap both candidates, put them in suspended animation, and take their places through something called bioduplication. They spray Homer with rum before sending him home so nobody believes a word he says. Kang and Kodos campaign as Clinton and Dole, giving completely unhinged speeches. Abortions for some, miniature American flags for others. And somehow, nobody notices anything is off. Homer finds the spaceship, breaks in, tries to free the real candidates, and accidentally ejects both of them into space. They die. Homer crashes the ship into the Capitol, rips off the alien disguises in front of everyone, and exposes the whole thing. A guy in the crowd says,
"Well, I believe I'll vote for a third-party candidate."
Go ahead, throw your vote away.
Kang wins the election and enslaves humanity. Homer's last line.
Don't blame me, I voted for Kodos.
That line is still quoted every single election year, and this episode aired just days before the actual 1996 presidential election. Moving into Treehouse of Horror 8, and this one opens with one of the most violent cold opens the show had ever done. If you're enjoying this, subscribing genuinely helps more than you'd think. Anyway, so, a Fox network censor sits at his desk, assures the audience that the episode has been toned down for family viewing, and then a sword comes out of the TVG rating icon on screen and stabs him. With every stab, the rating jumps. TV 14, TVMA, all the way up to TV 666. Completely insane way to start an episode. The first segment is the H Omega Mega Man, a parody of the 1971 film The Omega Man, based on the novel I Am Legend. Mayor Quimby makes a frog legs joke about France at a diplomatic event. France retaliates by dropping a neutron bomb on Springfield. Homer survives because he happened to be inside a bomb shelter at the exact right moment. He wasn't hiding in it, he was shopping for one. He's the last man standing in a destroyed city, and he's having the time of his life. Then, he discovers he's not alone. Radioactive mutants, twisted versions of Mo, Apu, and the rest of the town, are roaming the streets. They capture Homer and put him on trial. He escapes, makes it home, and finds his family actually survived. They were in Bart's treehouse, protected by its lead paint. The family arms up and wipes out the mutants. Next is Fly vs. Fly, a parody of The Fly, both the 1958 original and the 1986 version. Homer buys a matter transporter from Professor Frink's yard sale. Bart decides to go through it at the same time as a fly, just to see what happens. He comes out with his head on a tiny fly body, while a massive fly is walking around with Bart's body. Tiny Bart is squeaking for help from the kitchen table, while enormous Fly Bart terrorizes the house. The image of Tiny Bart pleading to be saved is a direct recreation of the most famous moment from the original 1958 film. Lisa shoves Bart back through the transporter and reverses the whole thing. Bart comes out in one piece, mostly. And then the last segment of this episode does something I genuinely love. Easy Bake Coven is a parody of Arthur Miller's The Crucible, set in 1649, Puritan Springfield. The whole town is on a witch hunt. Marge gets accused. They throw her off a cliff to test if she's a witch. She flies right back up on a broomstick, cackling, green skin and all. Marge, Patty, and Selma are all witches. They fly around Springfield on Halloween night, going door to door, threatening to eat children. The townspeople panic and start leaving out treats on their doorsteps to keep the witches away. And just like that, trick-or-treating is born, a Halloween episode that explains the origin of Halloween itself. Treehouse of Horror 9 had a nice surprise right in the opening. Robert Englund, the actual actor who played Freddy Krueger, shows up for a cameo. 3 years after Willie played Freddy in Treehouse 6, the real one walks through the door. The first segment is Hell to Pay, and its evil possession pushed to a ridiculous extreme. Snake gets executed on live television. His hair is transplanted onto Homer's bald head. The hair takes over Homer's body and forces him to hunt down and kill the 3 people who testified against Snake: Apu, Mo, and Bart. Homer is on a rampage and has zero control. Lisa figures out what's happening, and Marge goes,
"Somehow Snake's hair must be controlling."
Oh, please, Lisa, everyone's already figured that out.
They rip the hair off. Homer's fine. The Terror of Tiny Toon is a parody of the 1992 film Stay Tuned. Bart and Lisa get banned from watching the Itchy and Scratchy Halloween special. Bart finds a piece of plutonium, jams it into the remote, and it zaps both of them inside the cartoon. All the ultra-violence that's normally hilarious is now actually trying to kill them. Itchy and Scratchy chase them through multiple cartoon scenarios, and Regis Philbin and Kathy Lee Gifford make a live-action cameo in the middle of it all. The kids eventually escape back to reality, but Itchy and Scratchy follow them out of the TV. And the last segment is Starship Poopers. The title is a play on Starship Troopers, but the real parody is The Jerry Springer Show. Maggie starts teething, and her first tooth is a fang. Then she sprouts tentacles. Turns out Kang is Maggie's biological father. Marge was abducted. The custody dispute between Homer and Kang ends up on Jerry Springer. It instantly turns into a brawl, and nothing gets resolved. Very on brand for Springer. Now, the last episode in this batch is Treehouse of Horror 10, and it aired on Halloween night, 1999. I Know What You Diddly Italy Did is a parody of the 1997 film I Know What You Did Last Summer. The Simpsons are driving home and Marge accidentally hits Ned Flanders with the car. They think he's dead. Instead of calling for help, they dump his body back at his house and act like nothing happened. There's a ceremony at church, everyone's mourning, and the Simpsons are sitting there pretending they had nothing to do with it. But somebody saw what happened. I Know What You Did starts appearing everywhere. Scrawled on the walls, scratched into the car, written in fog dog on the bathroom mirror? The family is completely terrified. Then Ned shows up alive. He survived, but there's a twist. Ned is a werewolf. He transforms and attacks the family. And even as a full werewolf, Ned still says,
Deadly!
very on brand. Desperately, Zeking Xena is part superhero parody, part love letter to Xena, warrior princess. A nuclear explosion at Springfield Elementary's science fair gives Bart and Lisa superpowers. Bart can stretch his body. Lisa has super strength. They become Stretch Dude and Clobber Girl, complete with their own theme song. Meanwhile, comic book guy reinvents himself as a supervillain called the Collector. He kidnaps Lucy Lawless, the actual actress, playing herself, and seals her in a giant plastic bag alongside his other captured celebrities, including Tom Baker from Doctor Who. Bart and Lisa break in to rescue her and immediately get caught. Lucy frees herself by pretending to be attracted to the Collector. He drops his guard, she attacks. He grabs a limited edition Darth Maul lightsaber from the Phantom Menace. Lucy points out he just opened the original packaging, and it's no longer a collectible. He panics, stumbles backward, and falls into a vat of lucite. Lucy grabs the kids and flies them home. And the very last segment of this whole batch is Life's a Glitch, Then You Die, a parody of the Y2K panic mixed with the 1951 film When Worlds Collide. Picture this: December 31st, 1999. Dick Clark is hosting New Year's Rockin' Eve in Springfield. Homer is the nuclear plant's Y2K compliance officer. He fixed every computer at work, but completely forgot about his own computer at home. At midnight, it sends a virus across the entire world. Everything with a chip in it fails. Machines attack people. Appliances go haywire. Krusty's pacemaker stops working, and he drops dead right in front of the family. Civilization falls apart within hours. The government builds 2 rockets. The first carries the best and brightest to Mars. Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, Paul McCartney, Michael Jordan, all in line. Lisa gets a spot as the ship's designated proofreader. She can only bring one parent. She picks Marge. Instantly, Homer and Bart get left behind. They find a second rocket, completely unguarded, and climb on board. It launches, and the other passengers are all D-list celebrities and washed-up politicians that nobody wanted to save. The rocket is heading directly into the sun. Homer and Bart decide that floating in the vacuum of space is a better deal than spending one more minute with these people. They open the airlock and drift away, a perfect snapshot of everything the world was worried about in 1999. That is every parody from Treehouse of Horror 6 through 10. If you made it this far, genuinely, thank you. My goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and every single subscribe gets me a little bit closer. If you've been watching these videos without subscribing, now would be an amazing time to change that. I appreciate every one of you, and I'll see you in the next one.